want to start or scale your property development business to 8 figures and beyond, then you're in the right place. This is the Property Experts Podcast with Ben Richards and Jack Diggins, two serial entrepreneurs bringing weekly insights from our award-winning businesses. In these podcasts, you'll learn how we found, funded and delivered over £80 million worth of property in the last 6 years, with templates you can use, deal analysis and deep dive discussions that will help you build your businesses successfully. We hope you'll enjoy.
Hello, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Property Experts Podcast, hosted by myself and my business partner, Ben Richards. If you haven't tuned in before, we are entrepreneurs that have set up several businesses that all fold into each other into a group in property and construction. And the aim of these episodes is to hopefully guide you, give you guides, hopefully enable you to learn from our mistakes in growing businesses, managing teams, hiring people, raising capital, and so on. It's the 10th of July for our podcast listeners on Spotify, maybe known as the hot period, weather-wise, for a very cold market. We've got a plethora of things that we wanted to run through today. What you guys may not know is we basically try and highlight the key learnings every week. It's actually really good for us to look back and see what we can learn from, also to regurgitate those practical things that we've been doing in our businesses and sharing them with our network. We love questions, so please do ask questions. This is the whole reason we do this live, and the whole reason we do this online is so that you guys, our listeners, can ask any questions you want. And the more questions you ask, the better, because we can tailor it to what you people would like to hear.
Point number 3 is audience participation. So get ready for that and get your typing hands ready.
And it doesn't have to be during the episode. You can ask questions at any point. This first word of the agenda is good for a dyslexic, which I think is obsidian. My AI second brain is the first topic. We're then going to be talking about party wall agreements. What are they? Why do you need them? Should you need them? And what we do for HMOs and flips. Aura is going through a brand refresh. So we're going to be looking visually at what they look like and talking through those. If you're on Spotify, the best channel to watch this on is YouTube. You get the visual and you get to see what we screen share and pull together for you guys weekly. Internships 2026. I think this is our 4th year running of internships with the local university. So we'll be talking about the benefits for us, the benefits for them, and maybe why you should be considering it in your business. We did a monthly site tour across the business this week, so we'll be sharing that. We're going to be talking about the land parcel deals that you may see online, where you're buying a segment of a purchase site within a field and what we think of them and whether they are good or bad investments. Sales exchanges, what have we been going on? We're in a big sales period at the moment with a few of our sites, so we're going to be talking about progress and on which site that would be. We did a walkthrough on the Wednesday site walkthrough with the decision makers, and we're going to be talking about the potential setbacks you have when the decision makers aren't in front of you on site and the benefits when they are. XP have been trying and testing our own in-house sales process, so we're going to be hopefully getting some feedback from our listeners who are developers to see if that is something that might be valuable in your business. And last but not least, I attended the annual, the annual Serpentine event hosted by Goldman Sachs. And I'll be talking through what that entailed. I'll also touch on what I did in the Goldman Sachs education. I've actually recommended that course to 2 people this week. My barber, who's quite an entrepreneurial guy. I don't know if he watches this channel, but shout out to Ted. And also my friend Biffin, who runs a catering business down on the west coast of Cornwall. Last but not least, Q&As. So the section at the end is when you ask questions, we will come to them at the end of the episode and hopefully give you guys the help that you need to drive forwards. And I don't know why more people don't ask questions. So as a bit of an overview, our businesses are in surveying, architectural practices, development companies, management business, HMOs, lettings, and social housing. But our goal is to deliver 1,000 homes in the UK, which will be £1 billion worth of property. We do this by working with investors. So our only ask is 1, please subscribe. 2, please share this channel with people that you feel might see benefit If you know people that are entrepreneurs, this is all free content. We don't have salesy courses at the end where you run to the back of the room and subscribe. This is all for you to consume and do. We've actually been told by our listeners that we go into a lot more detail and give you enough information to deliver rather than giving you enough information to be dangerous. So please do subscribe to the channel. But yeah, our only ask is we've built our businesses off referrals and recommendations to work with investors. We've paid introducer fees to work with us, and we have quite a lot in the pipeline at the moment that needs funding. Some of it we think will be funded quite easily with our existing investor base, but we're always looking to expand and increase the partners that we're working with. Specific ask and an actual deal we have at the moment is a commercial site. So if you know any investors that might be interested in investing in a commercial building, which is obviously a slightly different risk profile to digging in the ground and building up loads of residential units that you've got to sell in a pretty dreadful market, this is a lovely office space that we are funding at the moment. And if you know anyone that would be interested in those commercial developments, do let us know. The first stage is just reaching out to us, having a no obligation consultation call with either Ben or myself, and hopefully we'll be able to understand what that particular investor is looking for. People might not coin themselves as investors. They might just be people looking to diversify capital. I had a call last week with a business owner that's sort of accumulating a bit of capital and wants to digress that into a different asset class to their own business. So please do make the introductions. We do pay fees, and it helps us, helps you, helps them, hopefully.
Nice.
And one of those investments is our surveying business. So we've actually grown this business bootstrapped and with seed investment ourselves, but we've got and built a model that we believe works really well, and we want to grow that quicker. So if you know anyone that's more interested in a service-based business or a startup business, XP Surveys is also on the raise list at the moment. We have certain tools. Well, we have tons of tools, probably over 50 affiliate businesses, recommendations, and companies that we've worked with. Believe it or not, recently we ran an event, and we were approached by an entity that wanted to be part of that event and partner with that event. And we're very choosy on selecting businesses that, one, we like to use, two, we would recommend, and three, we think would benefit our listeners. So these are tried and tested referrals. Some easy wins on the page, such as Zero, Capital on Tap, Dex, which is a invoicing and receipt filing tool. But all of these we use day in, day out, and we have got referrals that will help you and also help us. So if you need any recommendations for anything, literally anything, DM us, comment on us. We actually have a bit.ly link, I think, in one of our bios and also in our YouTube bio and description of this video. Click that, make an inquiry, and we'll help you be referred to the right suppliers, service providers, products, whatever it may be.
Cool. Okay, let's get into some nitty gritty, and I'm going to blow everyone's minds with what I've been doing recently. If you've tuned in over the last month, you know we're heavy at the moment into Claude AI, sort of trying to automate, systemize the businesses and giving you some tips and tricks that we're learning along the way. Now, we are no means professionals at this. We're not coders. This is merely what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks, what we've been learning. And I was finding it really difficult, and you're probably in the same boat where you've got ChatGPT on the go, you've got Claude on the go, you've created all these files, structures, outputs that are really useful to you, and they're all sort of like stored within Claude or your chats within ChatGPT. And over the last couple of weeks, because of Claude and Claude Co-work and Claude Code, there's been loads and loads of files and things that I've been creating that, yes, I've saved them in various places on OneDrive or Google, but it's becoming, to be honest, a real difficulty for me to realize and remember kind of what I've done where and where things are saved. So I've got some files that are HR files or finance files that needs to be in a secure folder that only certain people have access to. There's other stuff that I want everyone within my team to access in terms of skills that I've created with Claude or standard operating procedures, and they need to go in a file that everyone can access. So we've got all these things all in different places. And I came across Obsidian. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of YouTube research and watching a lot of videos, and Obsidian was one of the things that was kind of recommended that people are now really, really supercharging with Claude. And I've done exactly that. And last night and a couple of nights before, I've gone down the rabbit hole as you do when you get stuck into these AI processes. But Obsidian effectively is a sort of a way in which I can create a folder structure that is a source of truth for everything that I've created in my AI world. So people are referring these to, AI second brains, which it is. It's basically a whole place where everything that you create can go and regularly be updated in a folder structure that is sensible, that that is useful for you. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm sharing them on screen here, so I'll try and get this back up. Window, entire screen, that one. So this is what my Obsidian looks like, and this isn't something that's very difficult to do. I got Claude to create this for me. In fact, I got Claude and ChatGPT, so I batted them against each other. I created something in ChatGPT, and then I put it into Claude and said, make this better, and I put it back into Chat and basically said, look, both of them know about my businesses, both of them know differing amounts, because I started with ChatGPT a year ago, so it actually has a lot more data and information than my Claude and the conversations I've had in Claude, for example. So batting them against each other, and I've now created a folder structure for my whole life, for my personal life, for my businesses. Everything in here is everything to do with my businesses. So each of these strands, i.e. Aura, will have a slightly different setup to XP Property, for example, but generally, they follow the same thing. It's strategy, it's marketing, sales, operations, finance, product, services, offering. All of the key things and functions and departments within your businesses has a folder, has a location, has a brain. And as things progress and as you build things in Claude, as you build things in ChatGPT, I want all of that really key information to come into my Obsidian platform. It's called a vault. So Obsidian Vault, where ultimately everything within this is everything I will ever need to have in my life. So I'm creating a second brain that is AI generated, has all of my standard operation procedures, everything about my life, everything about my businesses in one place, easily searchable, easily accessible. And this is all created by Claude at the end of every day. So I have a skill that I say, /vault. And at the end of every day, it looks at everything we've created that day in Claude. It drops all of the markdown files, spreadsheets, or anything that is useful into my Obsidian. It creates links back to Google or OneDrive or wherever some of those things are stored. And it is my one source of truth for everything that I have in my life. So you'll see here in terms of the core rules from the setup guide on the screen, Obsidian is used for thinking, putting decisions that you've made, AI outputs, i.e. the markdown files of standard operating procedures, notes from meetings, so I can automatically get Firefly's meeting notes into my Obsidian. And ultimately, your Claude and your ChatGPT uses Obsidian, draws information and can search information in Obsidian to find the best standard operation procedure process that it needs to deliver what it needs to in Claude from what you've asked it to do. So it has links to all of these things. Your Google Drive and your OneDrive is still going to be the location of where things are stored in terms of the actual output. So if you've created a spreadsheet, if you're updating a strategy document in Word or Google Docs, those documents will stay in Google Drive and OneDrive, but your Obsidian will have a link to that and knows to reference back and forward to it. And your Claude can then update those files as and when things need to be updated. So very, very complicated, but fundamentally, when you get into the crux of it, it's actually quite a simple structure. Get AI to create this for you. So all of my, if I go to number 6 here, this is all my AI systems and prompts. So all of the skills that I've created in Claude are now stored in my Obsidian Vault. So everything is in one place. Everything can get updated via Claude as and when things do need to be updated. This is my skill that I created last night called the Vault. So when I set the command /Vault, it will run this process at the end of every day. So it will tell me, it will log everything that's been created. It will create an inventory for the session, classify everything that I've done, put the relevant markdown files in the relevant folder in my Obsidian Vault. And I am building a complete second brain that can go anywhere with me. So if in 5 years' time, Claude is no longer the top dog in terms of AI platforms and something else comes out, it doesn't matter because all of my brain is no longer in Claude. My brain for my second brain for all of my content, processes, procedures are in Obsidian, and Obsidian can be referenced by that new AI. So it's a really, really, really good way of, I think, structuring everything you're creating. I was getting lost with, I couldn't remember where I've saved stuff or remembered kind of what I'd even done. Basically, you can create daily logs in this that are automatically updated at the end of every day, and it's just a constant updated record of everything in your life. What I really love, I mean, this is just quite geeky and I just like it because it's cool, is this. So this is what it's building. This is my second brain. This is, if you imagine like your brain has loads of neurons and like loads of places where it saves information, blah, 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 and it fires off, to different nodes. This is effectively what it is in an AI computer format. So I've got different colors there. So all of my Aura stuff is this gold, XP is blue, XP Surveys is red, Aparo is green, and this will start to evolve as and when there are new connections made. So you can start to see that some of these things are linked. So my manifesto feeds into my content engine. I've got some competitor analysis that obviously feeds into my marketing and sales. As this evolves, you'll just start to see a massive kind of nodal diagram of all of these things that are interconnected. You can filter things as you wish, search just like a search engine to find the exact piece of information and data that you want. And this will be an incredibly powerful thing as you start to use AI, as you start to integrate it within your daily work and your businesses. And I think it's an amazing way of just keeping everything in one place, up to date, searchable, and making your AI sort of journey as efficient as possible. So that is a whistle stop tour to my learnings from Obsidian. It's super cool. I mean, it's I've barely scratched the surface, to be honest, but what I have done it's amazing. And ultimately I'm not the one that will be keeping this up to date. It will be Claude, which might, you look at what I've done and it probably looks quite well, it's just outrageous, really. And you look at it and think, my God, that's really complicated. And I'm going to have to keep this all up to date. And I don't know where anything is or how it's structured. It really doesn't matter because Claude does. Claude knows all of that, knows where to put stuff. It will challenge you and question, is this where you want it saved? Do you want me to create a link or actually drop the actual file in there? It's going to work with you to build it out for you. So you don't have to worry too much about being super techie. You have to have a bit of experience, a bit of knowledge, a bit of know-how and intuition, and be good at following instructions. But this is what I see a lot of people online now creating, the AI second brain via Obsidian. If you've got any questions about that, drop them down below.
I was actually also going to say one thing that might make all our listeners' lives easier is every time we produce an episode on something, for example, like AI, you're probably thinking, Ben's dropping nuggets here and we've talked about other AI bits in other sessions. If you go onto our YouTube channel, you can actually search our episodes and we've keyworded all of them anyway with the agendas. So if you just go on our YouTube channel and search AI, it will bring up all the episodes where we've covered some AI in some context to make it easier to find it from the get-go and progressing on to this.
Nice. Cool.
Party wall agreements. We've just about 2 weeks ago had a party wall agreement agreed on this building. party wall agreements are just generally a bit of a pain in the ass. So just what they are. So if you are an adjoining property or doing works near a property, there is actually a threshold of meterage. Is it 3 meters, Ben, from a party wall?
Yeah, they're sort of 3 and 6 meters, depending on
Yeah.
depth of foundations and other bits and bobs.
And essentially, for this particular building, we were removing a single-story extension and building a new one. And because we are I suppose we're a semi end of terrace, we required to get a party wall agreement. Now, what I do want to add to this is giving you a little bit of context to this particular property, then also giving you other solutions that we have actually delivered on other projects. This particular property, I preempted that the neighbour would be a bit of a stickler to go down the legal route of getting something formally agreed. We have in the past actually printed off all of the working drawings or the planning drawings and requested that the neighbour just signs the drawings agreeing that they understand that the work's being withheld. We then take photos of the neighbouring property before the works start, and then we agree to make good at the post delivery of the not only the delivery but also the settlement. That's my preferred route for smaller projects. For bigger projects, developments, going in the ground, whatever, I would highly recommend the traditional way of getting a full party wall agreement. But sometimes it can be a little bit overkill for small projects. And I'm going to explain why it's a bit overkill for this particular project, but we had to do it. Our surveyor was on an hourly rate, which was fairly reasonable. We opened the conversation, served the notice, and obviously if they challenge that notice, you typically have to instruct a third-party surveyor, in addition to your surveyor, to handhold that neighbour through the process, which is paid for by the person that's doing the work, which was us. Anyway, tons of back and forth, loads of detail that I don't even think was required. What we're actually doing is only going to improve the asset to what was there before. To put it in perspective, when we bought this house, we actually removed some boxing in the rear of the building. So we removed this it sounded hollow. We were like, right, let's get this out and see what's going on. And it was actually hiding an acro prop that was propping a timber that was obviously acros are temporary measures. They're put in to support buildings while you're, restructuring the building. But it was clear it's been there for decades. And that is the example of the type of shit that we buy and the type of shit that other people do, not by the book. And what we're actually doing is we found that problem and we're putting in a pad and column and goalpost around that structure to make sure that it's fine. So we like to feel, and I'm speaking on behalf of Central Suites and XP Property, that we're taking assets and actually making them better for the good. Not only curb appeal of quality of delivery, also going via the actual routes that we should be going down to achieve the solutions that we need to. But from a neighbour standpoint, we should actually, if we had just not bought that and someone else did, that acro prop isn't going to last forever. The project that was delivered before we took this building on was significantly worse than what we're going to do. So it's very frustrating when you have to go through line by line I had to supply a section drawing of a 900 mil pad for the party wall surveyor for a 70 mil coverage. So out of all of this scheme, the only party wall that we're building near is 70 mil overlap into a pad foundation, which is almost a meter wide. And I had to supply a section drawing to show how we're going to underpin that. And I was like, well, we're building a meter down. We're building a meter. We're digging a meter wide. Out of that meter width, 70 mil of that is the party wall. And actually, most of the wall that we're underpinning is ours. We're obviously, and the funny thing is, we had to dig the hole to share the scope of works. And I was like, we need to get this hole filled because I can guarantee concrete would be better in there than air. But they took weeks to come back to say, yeah, that's fine. Really like unpragmatic, frustrating when you've got two surveyors back and forward. And guess what? The bill then gets bigger. So anyways, for this simple 70 mil underpin of the party, obviously it's the encompassing of the party wall, but The only contentious works was this pad, which was 70 mil. So for perspective, that's like shorter than a pencil, a short pencil. It's like in between a golf pencil and a normal pencil of width that we were underpinning. And that cost us about $4,000 all in all, with surveyors' fees back and forward, their surveyor, our surveyor. And $4,000 is a lot of money on this project. The GDV is only like 700K. So if you look at our margin and on flips and HMOs, we're really only trying to add about 10% pure value on the GDV. That's a huge chunk and really painful. So what I'm coming on to say is, if you can have amenable conversations with the neighbours, some people just won't accept them, but we would much prefer come to a more, I suppose, just natural relationship with them, get them to agree and sign the drawings and accept that you're going to resolve what you need to resolve. Obviously, if you're an absolute cowboy, they should be concerned and they probably should go down the traditional route. But if you can prove you can save that I'd rather spend that £4,000 on putting a crack in their house right, or even doing additional works in their house, than just spending it on surveyors back and forward. So super painful, especially on smaller projects. But I thought I'd share that because we've had quite a lot of projects where we do just agree something that's a little bit more informal, but definitely works and resolves having to pay. I mean, the surveyors actually on this were good. And I think more of it was driven by, you've got someone trying to represent your best interests and someone trying to represent their best interests. So naturally it is very comprehensive, but my preferred option is to keep it less formal on smaller projects, especially with something so simple, because 4K is a lot of money. That's like 5% of our total works costs have just gone on surveyors.
Yeah, nightmare. Everything is
more
expensive.
Chestnut or whatever the phrase is. Walnut, something nut. What is it? Nuts.
It's all nuts. Cool. Good stuff. This is where the audience participation comes in. We had a similar thing about 6 months ago. I wasn't really happy with the direction of travel, so I've sort of instructed somebody else. We want to refresh the Aura brand. It's been the same for the last 10 years, and I think it needs a bit of a shake-up, as does the website. And that's the main thing, really, to get the website, the socials, up to a level where I feel like it's quite an engineered website at the moment. It looks good. It has some lovely photos, but it doesn't have that artistic design flair that an architectural practice typically does. And that's the direction of travel that we're heading. So first step in this process is to sort of relook at the website and look at the logo and the brand, and start here and then evolve on from this point. So I've got 5 options on the screen for those that are watching. Obviously, that's the best way of seeing what I'm talking about. For those that are on audio, you'll have to get yourself over to YouTube, or Spotify does have these podcasts in video format, so you should still be able to watch them on, I think, Apple and Spotify in video format. So turn your screen around, log in, take a look, and let us know which one you prefer. So just going through them. Option 1 is a sort of minor tweak on our current. In fact, I should have put the original logo, the existing logo. I mean, it's behind me. So there's the original logo. This is not too much of a change from it. It's removing some of the complexity and sort of making the font slightly chunkier. You've got option 2, which is still taking that kind of gradient, sort of triangular gradient, but integrating that within the type form of Aura. So you've got, I don't know whether this looks like it. It's sort of, our company's called Aura, and maybe if you don't recognize this as an A, you might get a bit confused. I don't know. To counteract some of that and make it look a little bit more like an A, we've added this line next to it. So you've got the kind of gradient of the Aura as it sort of dissipates up to the top. Slightly thinner type font. Option 4 is a complete kind of, and it literally is turning the logo on its side. So turning the logo on its side, basically sort of taking chunks out of it and being a little bit more abstract and blocky. And then you've got option 5, which is sort of merging the words aura with architecture to create a sort of type, a word logo, not an actual sort of logo icon logo. So aura architecture merged into one. So those are the 5 options. I was saying to the graphic designer, sort of, I find it really difficult to just look at logos. Like, a logo isn't the brand, a brand is everything together. So to see these in isolation, I'm finding it really difficult to see how it might actually look, in the wider space. So normally you take one of these and start evolving it. But I want to shortlist 2 and take them both forward and start to add the color to them, which is the next stage, and then add them, into example website images, example social, posts, so that you can sort of see how that brand logo evolves into the actual content that we're going to be putting out there. That's when I think I'll really be able to see, whether I like it or not. So yeah, just an isolated logo is I think quite difficult to gauge. But let us know down below, option 1 to 5, which is your preference and why would be really good. Just selecting one is fine, but yeah, I want to know why you didn't like some of the other ones, why you do like the one that you chose. I can't remember which one you preferred, Jack.
Yeah, first off, I actually just don't mind your existing branding.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel that branding is like a cycle, a bit like fashion. Like, if you keep wearing something that was in fashion 5 years ago, it will come back, and then you've got the like statement piece of being a little bit different.
Yeah.
I mean, XP's never changed. But I do like option 2. But what I would like to see is the A and the A the same, but looking more. So basically, the A on the left to be more like the sort of step changey, but maybe you could remove the middle bottom, but then they're the same, so it's like mirrored.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, to be fair, in terms of my existing logo. I did actually say to the graphic designer, she was going to charge to redesign the logo, and I said, actually, I don't want to pay you to redesign the logo because I don't think it needs redoing. And then she said, look, I think I can come up with some good options. I'm going to do it for free because I feel like it needs it. Yeah. And this is what she's come up with. So I
think option 3 looks too much like a data company. And I'm not a massive fan of like the bold in 4 or 5.
Yeah. I mean,
quite like 5 should be free, because that is literally selecting a font, blending an A, and then just bolding the first 4 letters. So
yeah,
someone's getting paid for that. They could design the gov.co.uk one that they charge
£500,000. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, I actually quite like the option 4 in terms of what I haven't shown on this screen is some of the other some of the direction of travel for some of the wider, like how the website could look. And she came up with some examples with really blocky text, like you've got the main hero image of what you're trying to show architecturally, but then you've got this chunky text that's sort of over the top of it and almost like overlaid on the property, or like coming out of the property, or it did look pretty cool. So I don't know, I'm undecided. I've put various polls out into our WhatsApp groups, and the sort of feedback so far has been mixed, really. And there's probably a few, like 1 or 2 sort of front runners, but by the end of today, I think I will gather all of those comments and have a think about it over the weekend. But I'd love to know what you guys think. So yeah, drop a message down below.
University of Reading. So for the 4th year running, we across the group are running an internship program. There's 2 fine students on the screen, but we have got one more joining us in about a week due to other commitments. But yeah, this week was the mark of Ollie and Pezo joining us from Reading University. Ollie's studying real estate and has actually got a part-time job in a local estate agent's, and Pezo's doing purely economics and finance and very much numbers focused. So I'm going to talk through why we do this, why it's beneficial to us, but why it's beneficial to them, what they're going to be doing over the summer. And then we have actually hired interns before full time. So it has been a successful program. But how it works is Reading are actually a supporter of getting that theoretical work into practical experience. Some of our interns feed back to us like how amazingly clearer it is when you're learning about the practical, the sort of theoretical things week in, week out, year in, year out. Some of our students might be first, second, or third year. And then you come into our business and we're literally doing all of it at all times. Remember, we're not a national home builder where you're coming as a quantity surveyor and you're just study build quantums and cash flow models for a construction job. You can literally learn everything: sales, marketing, operations, finance, talent. Literally the branding that we were just talking about was in the group that they're in, so they can have input of what the brand and the feel is. They can almost literally delve into every step of any business and have exposure to it. And that's one of the beauties of working for a small company. And I'm a massive firm believer that if I ever recommend someone going to work in a business, I personally feel like sub 40 employees is really good, because you get a lot more exposure. Yeah, you are doing some random errands like cleaning the office, but you get the benefit of that is you get full exposure and autonomy on the 360-degree view rather than a linear niche that you would be in a really big company, and you're a big cog in a small machine rather than a small machine in a small cog in a big machine. So the benefit to us as a company is I always say to our interns that it's a lot of resource for us as a small company. It has more of an impact on our efficiency to bring people in for learning, and you don't get like a lovely lever arch file of what your program looks like over 12 weeks and what you're going to be studying each week. It's much more informal. There's a lot more intuitive learning required. There's a lot of jumping in at the deep end and figuring it out. But I feel like we give a lot of trust and autonomy in that space. But our goal is they leave with a lot more experience in real life situations, understand the theoretical translated into the practical. We also get them to do almost like a questionnaire at the beginning of the internship to state what they want to achieve and how, and then we go around deciphering how we can help them achieve that. And then in return, we just ask that they add productivity to anyone in the company generally. So what that means is if they're shadowing someone, that person might be offering them 10 minutes additional of their time to run through that task. But then they do have to carry out tasks to help us because we are a small business as an adverse effect. The other benefits is the company and the culture. We all love it. I think a lot of people in the team love breaking out with the interns and helping them learn. New dynamic in the industry also helps us format a few things a bit differently. Like it's one thing doing a task, but then being able to tell someone what task you're doing in a clear format makes you sharpen up yourself. So we've actually been working, Peso and I have been working on a couple of finance things, and it has improved how I've documented that on myself, because I can't just say, this is what's in my head, crack on with it. There needs to be like evidence and details around that to make it clearer internally. Also, University of Reading get a grant to subsidize the income. So it's not fully subsidized. It's not like scholarship. But us as a company, we get a contribution towards their salary. Now, what that enables us to do, Ben, I can see your screen, by the way. What that enables us to do is it ensures that, let's just say, that individual that is an intern, because they're learning, isn't necessarily producing the output per hourly rate that we might need to charge for that. So what I'm saying is we're losing money on that task because the intern's delivering it. It kind of softens that blow and allows us to spend a bit more time not thinking about actually all we're doing over this summer is losing money on the tasks that they're doing. It softens that blow so that we can be a lot more thorough through the learning process and actually help them learn through, which always helps. It also softens their training period, because we look at tasks that need to be done in the business, and if it's a subsidized salary, we can allow that time for them to find their feet and get into a place where they understand it, they're trusted, and they can get going on that particular task. So that really does help. And then also, if you end up hiring that individual, you've almost trained them up on a subsidized salary. And then at the point you hire them, you know, they might then be fee earning or near fee earning, and you can warrant that cost. So it's a great program. We love it. Hopefully we've had amazing feedback on it before. Our last year's intern submitted us for Employer of the Year awards. We actually didn't win, but we're not like a big, sexy Microsoft. But the thought that counts from our interns. But yeah, good fun. Hopefully Ollie and Pedro are listening to this. They've already rattled through a lot of our YouTube videos. I actually got them to watch our deep dives on the projects that they ended up walking around this week on Wednesday.
Nice.
But yeah, that's not much more to add, really.
Cool. Yeah, you've seen on the previous screen that we did the site visit, and Jack mentioned the interns came around with us. The site visits that we do every month are relatively new this year, but have proved to be extremely valuable. Ultimately, it's myself, Jack, and it's largely all of the team that are available to come around to site for a full day. Walk around the site, pick up problems, ask questions, challenge things that are going on, discuss design issues, look forward about kind of what's happening next and what needs to happen to push things forward. And that's what they're all about. So we visited St Andrew's Court, which is the one on the left. And as you can see, like, things are really progressing well now. The scaffolding is now down, all of the roof dormers and structure is installed, and the loft levels are studded, partitioned. First fix electrics and first fix plumbing is going in, and things are really, really kicking on. These ground floor and first floor parts of the building are almost finished. All of them are kind of whitewashed. They're waiting for second fix electrics. They're waiting for the kitchens to be installed on this first floor. All the kitchens are in on the ground floor. And we're, carpets are down in some rooms. Flooring is down in most rooms. Balconies, structures are created. We're waiting for the glazing to go on the balcony for the balustrades. So things are really, really progressing nicely at St Andrew's Court. And the key milestone this week was that we've now knocked through into the phase 1 corridor. So if you've been tuning in historically, this is a phased site. We've already sold 9 of the flats in the center part of the building. And that stair core accesses 2 of those phase 1 units. So we couldn't have all of the work undergoing in phase 2 for the 11 units whilst the stair core was open and it's fire hazard, etc. So we had to block up the entrances into phase 2, finish the corridor, get all of the fire suppression system and detection in, make it a safe zone for the buyers of phase 1 to walk through. But this week we've now opened that up. So we've created the fire lobbies in phase 2. We've now knocked door openings through into the existing stair core. We'll be putting the fire rated doors off that stair core into phase 2. And it gives better access for us. It means we can take kitchens up through the existing walkway up to phase 1. It meant that the scaffold could come down, sooner because we've got that extra access. It's looking really, really good. I think by the end of August, the ground floor and first floor will be finished, and the second floor will be soon after, sort of by the end of September. So in the next couple of months, we will be fully finished on St Andrew's Court. We've got a few delays with the lift, but that's all getting programmed in. Then we went to the old maltings. You can see it in all its glory on these 2 photos here. Some nice marketing on the frontage. We created some more adverts and some social media content, which we'll come on to later. This project has been painful, really. It's been a real challenge, but for the first time in a long time, I've seen a lot of people on site, which is great. The landscaping is really moving forward. The fact that these bollards are up out the front was because they are making the electrical connections for the site, which is a massive step to get the site energized and all fully commissioned. 19 of the flats are 99% complete. The front extension is moving on, the townhouses are moving on, and the landscaping in the car park is 80% complete. So yeah, things are moving on there. And then we went over to the bank, which is in Abingdon. We bought a Halifax bank on the high street, turning it into 7 flats. We've already sold the retail unit back off to someone else, and the HMOs are almost complete, and the works at the rear are very, very progressing really well now. I did feel really sorry for the carpenter, who's basically putting a new roof on the bank to the rear, and in this heat, it was blistering, and he's been up there all week installing steelwork, installing rafters, and forming that new superstructure, which is an airspace development above the existing rear of the property. So yeah, we love the site visits. It's a great opportunity for people to kind of see what's going on, and a chance for Jack and I to see progress and ask questions and challenge things, etc. Cool. If you're tuning in on audio, or if you're tuning in via video, we love having you here. We would love you to share and rate and review this for us on Apple, on Spotify, on any platform. It really, really helps the algorithm. It pushes us to new viewers, and that's what we want. We only ask one thing typically, and that's that you share it with people that you think will get value like you're getting. So people tell us it's valuable, and they love the content, they love the detail that we go into. We repurpose the video format that we do live every Friday at 4:30 onto the audio platforms Monday at 5 a.m. every week. So your morning drive or commute to work on a Monday morning, you could be listening to what's happened in the previous week with XP Property and the other businesses, and gain loads of really useful knowledge and insights into being a business owner, being a property developer. So yeah, do rate us, do review us, leave a comment, etc. Do all that good stuff, because it helps us a lot.
I don't know if we've actually discussed these before.
Don't think so.
I see them all the time online. And I actually know some people that in their first endeavors get falling into this trap of buying a plot in a field, which sounds like you're getting into speculative land planning. Well, is fragmented speculative land planning or land promotion. And it's all a load of bullshit, really, if I'm honest. I've seen it time and time again where it's like a little box in the middle of the field and it's only 30 grand, and if you get the planning it might be worth 230, and it's a great return, but it's all a load of nonsense. I know people that have bought sites where they do end up selling plots as self-build plots. That's typically when planning is approved. It's pretty rare that a decent land promoter or someone that's going to planning can do these fragmented sales. It's basically them trying to cash generate on something that isn't actual yet. And I think it's a huge risk, and I think they're a complete waste of time, and I think they need to be avoided. So if anyone's looking at anything like this, please reach out to me and I'll tell you that. And if I look, I will give you my free time to look at the site and tell you whether I think it's a bad investment. But you'd be much better off either buying a plot with planning, or alternatively, I think the best model for individual plots is just buy an absolute wreck. Buy something that's 200 a foot and regen it to something that's 5-6 a foot. A lot of houses, like we've bought a lot of properties that are cheaper than if we bought the land and built it. So look out for those deals rather than these like sexy, fancy, like get in now and you make the planning uplift. The person doing that planning uplift is probably not a good operator. The good operators have already got the cash to do it, and they're going to sell it when it's got planning. So avoid.
Nice. Solid advice. Been a big week this week in terms of sales exchanges, which is amazing. It's always good to sort of get those over the line, because it locks buyers in. It gives us the relief that they are serious. We've had so many things fall through over the last couple of years. It's devastating when you've literally been waiting 3 to 4 months for like a sale to get through, and then at the very final minute, it doesn't go anywhere. it falls out of bed. You're then spending loads of money remarketing it. You've wasted 3 months. You've paid more in interest again, and you're going to have to wait another 3 months. It's just devastating. So yeah, sales exchanges, big days. We've exchanged on plot 3 at Maple Rise. We've exchanged on the very, very final property in Archway Court in Marlow, and that one's taken a long time. It's been really, really difficult. The beauty of that particular unit is that we are no longer holding debt on that unit. Fundamentally, everything that comes back from that unit is margin. So at least we're not hemorrhaging interest like other sites. But yeah, super happy to get those over the line. Thanks to My Homes for working with us on Maple Rise. They're doing a great job and getting things over the line. Like I mentioned last week, we've got 2 offers accepted on 2 of the 2 beds. So that's now 2 exchanged, 2 offers accepted for 2 of the 1 beds. We've got lots of viewings, lots of inquiries still coming in. So yeah, it'd be great to get one of the 3 beds gone, because they're sort of largely £1 million kind of assets, and that's a big chunk of debt that we'd like to pay back down. So and we do have a lot of inquiries for 3 beds, which is actually surprising. But yeah, lots of downsizers. We've really catered to what the local market needs. We've got a lift, in this building. We've got a massive communal garden for people to kind of do what they want with. I know one of the buyers particularly, is going to be creating a little vegetable patch and, very green fingered. So I think that's what we really wanted from that communal garden, having sort of 9 people that live there. There's going to be a lot of people that are downsizing. A lot of elderly people that live in the area and have lived in the area for a long time. And they're going to create amazing things in that communal garden, I'm sure. So yeah, amazing. Great to have that over the line. And yeah, look forward to getting more of them exchanged and sort of secured.
Cool. Not a lot of time on this one, but Ben touched on, we did a walk round at all of our sites. And I think that what we probably regret is on the old Maltings actually just getting key decision makers all on site at the same time. Because I feel like the traction we're getting now is what we needed and would have prevented a lot of delays. And a lot of it is not, that complex. And, it's I actually had it the other day in Central Suites, where I've got a damp proof specialist, the main contractor, and the flooring guy. None of them know what each other are doing. None of them will call each other if I try and arrange that. So the easiest thing would just be to get everyone on site, and it's all then, waiting and managing around that process is all resolved. And I certainly feel like we've stepped up a gear with the old Maltings and the contractor, and actually just helping each other help get the scheme done. So if you are struggling with any progress on sites, think about who are the key decision makers here, who are the key people of influence, get them on site and get things cracking. And that was it really.
Nice. Very true.
Yeah.
Cool. Over the last couple of months, you've heard us go through in detail how we're kind of selling and marketing our own sites, using meta campaigns, generating leads and inquiries, following up. That is effectively all under the EXP sort of real estate agency route. I joined EXP a couple of months ago. Largely to kind of sell our own stock, but also we get a lot of opportunities to sell other stock through our network as well. We get a lot of things across our desks, and it just was like a natural progression, I think, to join that. We've had a lot of success with our own units. Like I said, the units that we have got under offer at in Muswell Hill were from our own meta campaigns. I think largely up to that point, we'd spent maybe £3,500 on meta campaigns. And we effectively sold just under £1 million worth of stock from that £3,500. So, in terms of return on investment, that's amazing. And we're now discussing internally about doing this for other developers. So we've learned a lot through the process. We've built a team and are continuing to build the team to deliver this for our own stock. But we've had a couple of mentees ask us to do it for their own sites. We've been in discussions with some other sales agents that we can bring on board to help deliver for other people. And we're now seriously considering this. Jack and I over the weekend are going to be discussing the sort of sales strategy, the business model behind it, kind of how we could service it, how we best deliver for the people that we work with. Selling property developments is difficult in any market. It's even more difficult in today's market. It's incredibly tough out there. The sales market is on its knees. So you need to be doing as much as you possibly can to get in people's faces and get viewings through the door. And that's what we've been able to do. I checked in with the sales guys this morning. This week we've got 3 viewings booked in for St Andrew's Court, 3 viewings booked in for the Old Maltings. That's from just this week's inquiries, and then we've got another double that and more on a sales open day in next Saturday, which we're holding at both sites. So we want to bring this to you guys. If you're interested in working with us, if you've got a number of sites that you want more eyes on, if your local agent is not really doing doing things for you, we don't have the massive overheads that they have. We don't have the big shiny office, the layers of bureaucracy. We're good at what we do, and we're building a team to deliver it for ourselves. So we figured we can deliver it for other people as well successfully. So if you're interested in working with us as your sort of sales team, we're structuring some packages as we speak. With every development, you want to sell faster. You want to sell for as much as you possibly can, and ultimately reduce the amount of debt you're paying to a lender, because at the point of finishing your project, you're going to be at peak debt. You're going to be paying peak interest rates, and you need to get these units out the door as soon as possible. So the more you can do that, the more you can advertise and get people in people's faces, the more money you're going to save in interest payments to the bank. So yeah, if you're interested in working with us, we'd love to have a conversation. Drop us a DM. We're packaging up some offerings at the moment, and would love to discuss it with you. So yeah, drop us a message. Similarly, if you want to learn from us alongside us and other sort of aspirational property developers, we have been running the XP Boardroom for about 6 years now. We've introduced some really amazing things this year that we haven't done previously. That's live Q&As every week. And it's also site walk around. So the site walk around that we did on Wednesday, you will have the opportunity to walk around with us, to see the sites that we're operating, to ask questions, to see how we operate with different contractors and how we solve problems on site and all that good stuff, as well as all the old stuff that we used to run. So goal setting, helping you in all of the functions of your business, from sales, marketing, finance, operations, HR, looking at acquisition, strategy, finance, planning, design, all of that stuff that you need in your business. And as a property developer, we want to help you scale from 7 figures to 8 figures. This isn't for people that are, just starting to do some flips, or have got, 1 or 2 HMOs and just starting out. This is for people that know the industry. So great for architects, construction professionals, party wall surveyors, structural engineers that have always wanted to move to the dark side and become a developer. Those are the people we want on the boardroom. They're well placed to deliver. We're well placed to guide them to growing a development business. And we would love to have you in our next cohort. So drop a message, comment boardroom down below, and we can send you the details.
Last but not least, this week on Tuesday, I had the pleasure of going to the Serpentine, which was good fun. And it was an event put on by Goldman Sachs. Essentially, every summer they put on these events. So if you haven't listened or heard to any of our channel before about the Goldman Sachs piece, I enrolled on their business growth program 3 years ago now. Wow, that's gone. Which is basically a program to help young entrepreneurs that are turning over £250,000 per year grow their businesses, understanding all of the parameters around modern day business ownership, the markets, managing certain things. There were 60 in my cohort. A bit like Ben just mentioned about Boardroom, constantly learning. And I was fortunate enough to be also selected to go onto the Unicorn program, which is business owners that did the business growth program, but want £1 billion valuation one day, which is very exciting. But anyway, the event was their events are so good. They always have really good food, really good people. I mean, this event was like, it felt like launch day for Glastonbury. Everyone on our WhatsApp groups was like, tickets are coming out for the Serpentine event at 10 a.m. Make sure you get your tickets. And within seconds, it was oversubscribed. We had a talk from, is it Ellen White, the OBE English female footballer who won the Euros, which was an interesting interview. She's now actually a pundit. And there was quite some, fun questions like, who was the best player you played against? What was your favorite goal? And all of those sorts of things. She actually decided to retire from football to start a family. And it was good fun, being surrounded and reminded by business owners. I mean, even looking at this screen, this is some of my cohorts and just the variation of people that run these businesses. One of the guys in the photos runs a studio which creates the visuals between for FIFA, between like match play to the adverts. He's actually based in the FIFA offices in Wembley. Another guy creates foam for chairs, seats, and sofas. He's got a massive factory, a 27,000 square foot factory where he produces and cuts foam. There's
Random.
people with, yeah, I know. And I was actually saying to him, I was like, what's the industry like for you at the moment? He was like, literally no change. It was like, it's the same as last year. So predictable. And I was like, cherish that because it's not at the moment for everyone else. And he was like, but doesn't that excite you? And I was like, I'll switch seats with you if you want. You run my
I'd love a bit of
business, I'll run yours.
stability.
I'll just bugger off to somewhere
nice.
lovely for a few months. Then you've got people that sell products. So Matcha Tea, a recruitment company, another media company, beauty products, literally everything and anything in between. And what I love about meeting with these people is I feel that, and some of our listeners might be able to relate to this. When all you do is go to property events and listen to property podcasts and do property things, you get very immersed in property. Whereas what I love about going to this is you have very, very, very different conversations about understanding other people's businesses. One of the guys in the photo runs a granola business, and he was telling me that his warehouse is too big to regulate the temperature. So it's actually really difficult to produce the granola that they're producing at the same rate, which is like a problem that you would never even think of. But our equivalent problem, I suppose, is when it's freezing, you can't knock up walls and pour concrete in the ground because you can't do that in frozen conditions. But it just opens the mind, different conversations, which I love. And it also helps if it's scorching hot and you've got a glass of rosé in your hand. And even the photo on the right is I went with now good friend Ollie Phillips, who's an ex-England captain rugby player. He lives in Shiplake and Henley-on-Thames, and I managed to convince him to sit in the car with me as we go up. And all we were talking about is business. And it's really interesting listening to his business struggles in current market compared to our business struggles in current market. And I think if you're not surrounding yourself by people that, he's just rode the Atlantic. And I'm sitting in a car with him asking him about, what it's like. And he said, it's fascinating to be surrounded by such an eclectic powerhouse of people. And, that's the real value that I really got from the Goldman Sachs, just being surrounded by those people. So it was good fun as always.
Nice.
And I'd highly recommend the course if anyone hasn't done it. It's subsidized by Goldman Sachs. It's part of their entrepreneurial, charitable reinvestment of the UK market. So highly recommend it. Anyone got any questions about it, DM me.
I think I will, in the next couple of years, sign myself up for XP surveys. But at the moment, it's still quite a bit of time commitment, isn't it? The actual course.
Yeah, I remember back like for a month, my wife was just watching TV, and I was at the dining table for like 3 or 4 hours every night, because obviously running a business, you've got to do your business in the day, and then there's a lot of stuff that you have to just do in the evenings, and also the stuff that we do in the day is like really like consuming. So by the end of the day, you're knackered. I just fell asleep on my laptop like a couple of times, just like dozing off.
Yeah, it's tough. Manage juggling, all these things. Did you have Blue at that time? No, you didn't, did you? Blue
it was I think
just before
Kelly was pregnant, so I was planned to like get it in and out of the way. Nice. Consuming.
Cool. There is a question. Somebody found a commercial to residential scheme in Southwest London, Class MA, a detached bungalow office, beautiful building. They've run the numbers and could go for 4 flats, but tempted to keep it as one large high-end bungalow. Agents are saying flats are sticky, but both around £2 million GDV. How would you decide? Question for you.
Really good question, actually. We had this with Connie Hatch Lane. So the site that Ben showed earlier that we had the exchange on this week, we actually submitted 2 planning schemes, one for 9 flats and one for 2 executive homes. And I would actually probably recommend that this questionee, if that's the right term, just actually does submit both applications to get them rolling while you do your DD and homework. I think given flats are, so the benefit of flats is you've got more fragmented, I've used that a lot on this episode, fragmented sales. So you don't have to get one big sale to pay off the one big debt, which is quite painful if you go through what Ben even discussed earlier, where you get an agreed sale and then that buyer pulls out and then you've got to go back to market. That's quite a high risk strategy if the sales is tough. I personally would prefer to go for the one big unit if that is a better market. I do think there is a better market for that. I would then stress test that. So you can stress test 2 things. Run a cash flow on both and just leave that as it is, expectations, costs, GDV, etc. I would then stress test both schemes to see which is most risky, to understand the stress of each scheme by stress testing the flats sales prolonged. So maybe add a 12-month period for sales and see what the end result is. And then I would do a single unit sale at a decreased value. So maybe flat sales at like a compromised GDV of 1.8, but taking 12 months. And then an individual unit sold at 1.8 over 12 months and see which numbers look better and then decide it. I think this can be a data-driven risk management decision. And that's what I would do. I also think a really, really, really good agent is probably the person to ask and say, if you were doing this, what would you do? And then more importantly, I would get on the sales plan and process like ultra early with either strategy. Regardless, I would get, if you can get a buyer for that wants to pick like the like finishes, you're in the money. I'd even take that earlier doors, get it agreed, do what they say, take a big deposit that covers if they pull out, you can rectify those problems. But I think if you're going down the owner occupier process, that is the best way to go, and almost treat it as like an opportunity for them to buy something different that's catered for what they need, rather than it being just another unit that's worth 2 million quid and you're competing with everyone else. I would run the data, run both stress test scenarios. I personally, in this market, think that the house finished right will sell better than flats. I do agree with that. Unless the one thing we haven't discussed here is if your flats have parking and amenity and you're in an area where others don't, that might be the strategy to go. So, old age answer, it depends. Be led definitely by an agent, but run your own numbers to run both case scenarios at selling at block discounted value. And then also the beauty of flats is if you, for example, did end up finishing this scheme in 20 months and the flats or the house is worth 2 million, you can also look at, if you took a 200 grand haircut in each scenario, how would the flats refinance and be held? And you might be able to then de-risk that by a refinance strategy, whereas a £2 million drum, you're not going to be able to refinance. So that is one added benefit to run as a financial model for the flats.
Nice. Cool. And on that note, we will leave you guys to it. So have a good weekend. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with as many people as possible. We will be here every week at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon. And enjoy the sun. Have a good weekend. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.